What's up everybody, it's me, Murdock, and today I got a review for you for the latest film written and directed by David Lowery, The Green Knight. It's a film adaptation of the 14th century poem Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. The movie stars Dev Patel as Gawain. He's the nephew of King Arthur and he aspires for greatness and he wants nothing more than to join his uncle's ranks at the Knights of the Round Table, but he's not actually doing anything to achieve his dreams. That is, until the mysterious Green Knight arrives on Christmas Day at the King's court and challenges everybody there to a game. Gawain, who desperately wants a story to tell in his life, immediately accepts the challenge. The rules state that one half of the game takes place right there on the spot, and the second half takes place in exactly 1 year to the date at the Green Chapel. So the film follows Gawain as he takes his journey to the Green Chapel to prepare himself to complete this game with the Green Knight. Now first things first, this is the latest film by independent studio A24, and they're known for their polarizing art house style movies and television shows. Just like a bulk of their past releases, this movie is already getting extremely divisive reviews from the critics versus the general audience. If you've seen A24 movies by now, then you probably already know if you love them or if you hate them, and this movie is not much different. This is not the action-packed fantasy adventure film that I think a lot of people expected it to be. Instead, it's a very slow-paced, quiet, and even challenging movie to watch sometimes. So I think it's important to let people know, because I'd say about probably 90% of the people who were in the theater with me hated this film. I heard audible groans and non-stop complaining from people as we exited the theater. And I think a big part of that is that people didn't realize what type of movie they were going to see. So this movie is not for everyone. If you're looking for something more fast-paced or with big fantastical action sequences, then this might not be the one for you. Or at least here's a heads up to let you know what the movie actually is. However, if you're like me and you know that you love those types of independent artsy films that A24 puts out, then I really can't recommend this movie enough. This film is beautiful. The cinematography alone as we follow Gawain through his journey is just breathtaking. There's lots of long shots of Dev Patel as he's on horseback or on foot trekking through his journey that are just quiet and they allow the scenes to breathe. This film also has a tremendous use of color throughout the different areas that our lead explores on his journey. This is a very visual story, and not just through cinematography, but in storytelling as well. There's long periods of silence in the movie where a character may not say a single word, but the plot and the story of it all is still moving forward. The film doesn't rely on exposition to tell you what's happening or to explain to you explicitly what the themes and the messages of the movie are. David Lowery trusts the audience to pick up the plot points and the lessons that he's giving to us throughout the film on our own. And he directs this movie so confidently. It's clear that he knew exactly what type of movie he wanted to make and what statements he wanted to get across. But as beautiful and amazing as the directing of this film is, I feel like the whole thing could have easily fallen apart if we didn't have a strong lead performance. But fortunately for us, Dev Patel gives one of, if not the best performance of his career as Gawain. He gives it his all in this film and gives us a character that clearly grows from the beginning to the end of his journey. At the heart of it all, this is really a coming of age story for Gawain. At the start of the film, he has aspirations, but he isn't doing anything to achieve them. He still lives with his mom and she disapproves of his lifestyle and she just desperately wants him to take the next step in his life, and she gives him quite the push to get there. The fascinating thing though is that Gawain isn't a perfect character or somebody who has a heart completely made out of gold. He constantly makes mistakes and selfish decisions throughout all of these encounters that shape who he is as a person versus the idea of nobility that he wants to actually become. It's really interesting to watch a flawed character who wants to become someone different but isn't necessarily making the correct choices for this evolution. And Dev Patel is able to convey all of this to the viewer brilliantly, even when it's just through action. The movie itself has 3 acts, and if there was any complaints that I had about it, it's that the middle section can drag a bit. The movie itself is a bit over 2 hours long, and the journey itself that Gawain takes to get to the Green Chapel takes up a bulk of it. And like I said before, he comes across a range of characters or side quests throughout his journey, but the thing is, some of them are just more engaging than others. Or some of them were just a little bit too short to really get invested in the specific circumstances and fully grasp what the lesson is that he learned from that particular encounter. And also in the same vein of what I mentioned earlier with Lowery trusting the audience to pick up on certain plot points just through action, some of them I personally felt were just a little bit too subtle to the point where I just completely missed them or wasn't able to put together what the purpose of a certain scene was. There's just certain points in the movie where things happen that felt like they were just a very lucky coincidence, and I couldn't tell if it was actually just that or maybe there was something grander at play that I just didn't pick up on. That's just my own personal experience though. I'm sure that everybody who watches this movie is gonna pick up on or completely miss different things than than one another. I'm also gonna be honest and say that I was not familiar with the original poem that this is based on at all. I think that if I was, then a lot of the plot points that I was confused about would have been much clearer on my first watch. And that's another thing. I really want to see this movie a second time for multiple reasons. I'm sure that there's tons of messages and things that I missed out on my first watch. And now that I went home and did the proper research on the original poem, I'm sure that I'll have a whole new understanding of the plot and certain story beats on a second viewing. That, however, can be seen as something that's not necessarily positive though, since I now think that familiarizing myself with the source material will increase my enjoyment rather than being able to fully grasp everything blind on a first watch. But even with certain points of the movie dragging and some plot points that I was confused about, I really enjoyed what I saw. The beginning and the ending of the film were particularly strong. Honestly, I really loved the ending and how it was handled and how the message was told. The movie also has some unexpected humor in certain scenes, which was a nice surprise. It was almost at the point where a line would be said in a particularly serious situation and you didn't even know if it was okay to laugh or not. I think that David Lowery really crafted something special here, and by doing so, he set a new name for himself and for Dev Patel. I know myself and I love me a movie with some good themes and good messages, and this one has so many that are explored and conveyed really well. Like I said though, this movie is not for everyone. When the movie finished, I heard the guy sitting behind me just say to himself, "This was the dumbest movie I've ever seen in my whole life." And that's just his opinion. So if you don't think you're the type of person to enjoy a very slow, quiet, and more experimental film, then this probably isn't the one for you. But for me, I really enjoyed what I saw, and I was thinking about it and deconstructing it for days after I saw the film. And I'm already excited to give it a second watch. So I'm gonna have to give this movie an A-. But that's just my opinion, and I want to hear yours, so let me know in the comments. What did you think of the movie? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was there certain parts that I didn't bring up in the review that you want to talk about? Let me know, I'll reply, and we'll have a conversation. And while you're down there, if you could do me a huge favor and like this video and subscribe to my channel, it would help me out so much with getting my videos out to a bigger audience. So once again, thank you so much for watching. I'm Murdock, and I'll catch you next time.